Hulk Hogan wasn't just a wrestler, he was the symbol of an entire era, the red and yellow, the say your prayers and eat your vitamins. He made millions believe in Hulkamania. But behind the lights, the cheers and the fame, there was a darker story, one of broken family ties, painful health battles, and a shocking end nobody expected. Tonight, we uncover the real truth behind Hulk Hogan's death. A story WWE never wanted you to hear. When people talk about legends in WWE, one name rises above almost every other: Hulk Hogan. For decades, he wasn't just a wrestler, he was the face of professional wrestling. The 1980s belonged to Hogan. He was the man who carried Vince McMahon's bold dream of WrestleMania on his shoulders, the superhero in red and yellow who told kids to say their prayers, take their vitamins, and believe in themselves. But behind that colorful exterior was a man whose reality was far more fragile than the character he portrayed. Even at the peak of his fame, Terry Bollea, the man behind Hulk Hogan, struggled with insecurities, controversies, and the pressure of being larger than life. He had to be Hulk Hogan everywhere he went, and when you live that long in a spotlight, the shadows only grow darker. As the years passed, Hogan's body began to betray him. Decades of slamming giants like Andre the Giant and Body, dropping countless opponents left his back and knees shredded. Fans saw the charisma, but close friends saw the man who could barely walk after matches, a man who relied on surgeries and painkillers just to keep the illusion alive. And while fans adored him, behind closed doors, relationships with his own family were breaking apart. His daughter, Brooke Hogan, would later admit that in her final phone call with him, she begged her father to slow down. His health was in decline, yet he refused to stop. He was chasing something, maybe relevance, maybe redemption, that his loved ones couldn't quite understand. The official reports told a simple story. Hogan suffered a cardiac arrest at 71 years old, collapsing in his Clearwater Beach home. But to many, the truth felt far more complicated. It wasn't just about one medical emergency. It was about years of pushing his body past its limit, the toll of fame, and the heavy silence of a family that had drifted apart. When police and emergency responders arrived, the world saw the headlines, Hulk Hogan dead at 71. To millions of fans, it felt impossible. How could the immortal icon of Hulkamania be gone? Yet to those closest to him, this was a tragedy they had been fearing for years. WWE reacted quickly, issuing a formal tribute. Superstars past and present poured their emotions onto social media. Stone Cold Steve Austin called him larger than life, a stratosphere all on his own. Kevin Nash, who had already endured the heartbreak of losing Scott Hall, wrote simply, "I lost another brother, NWO for life and beyond." These weren't just tributes. They were wounds opened live in front of the wrestling world. But amid the wave of grief, some couldn't help but ask a haunting question. Did Hulk Hogan's death really begin that morning in Clearwater? Or had it been slowly building for years, hidden behind the spotlight, the cheers, and the mask of Hulkamania? And let me ask you, when you think of Hogan, do you remember the unstoppable hero in the ring? Or the man whose real life seemed to crumble the moment the camera stopped rolling? For years, fans saw Hulk Hogan as the perfect American hero, but those who lived in his orbit knew the truth was darker, more complicated, and often heartbreaking. Take his daughter, Brooke Hogan. In interviews after his death, she revealed details that shook even long-time fans. The last time she and her father spoke was months before his passing, shortly before Hogan remarried. That final phone call was emotional. Brooke told him she loved him, but begged him to take care of himself. She warned him that his health was failing, that his body wasn't built to handle the constant grind anymore. Hogan's response, he didn't want to hear it. For a man who had built an empire on being immortal, slowing down felt like admitting defeat. The distance between father and daughter grew. Brooke later admitted he never made the effort to meet his grandchildren, even after near-death scares in her own life. Her husband reached out hoping to repair things, but Hogan stayed cold and distant. To many, this wasn't just a tragic family rift. It was proof that the Hulk Hogan persona had consumed Terry Bollea entirely. Contrast that with his image on TV. WWE rolled out polished tribute packages showing Hogan slamming Andre at WrestleMania Roman 3, flexing for roaring crowds and basking in endless glory. Yet what those highlight reels didn't show was the pain of a family breaking apart behind the curtain. His daughter mourning not just the man she lost, but the relationship that could never truly heal. In many ways, Hogan's life mirrored the contradictions of professional wrestling itself, larger than life on the outside, painfully fragile on the inside. Fans wanted the hero forever, but heroes are still human, and then came the wrestling world's reaction. Legends who had shared locker rooms with him poured out tributes. Sting thanked him for everything he'd done for him and the fans. The Miz confessed he grew up eating his vitamins and saying his prayers because Hogan told him to. Even Vince McMahon, who had fought side by side with Hogan in shaping the very foundation of WWE, wrote a rare personal statement. But not all reactions were glowing. For years, Hogan's career had been marred by controversies. Scandals, lawsuits, and accusations that left many questioning his true character. Even in death, those conversations resurfaced. Could we celebrate the man who built wrestling without acknowledging the mistakes he made along the way? This is the price of fame. When someone like Hogan dies, the world doesn't just mourn, it debates. It analyzes. It dissects every good and every bad moment of a complicated legacy. And for his family, especially his daughter Brooke, it meant grieving in public, while strangers argued over the man she simply knew as Dad. But here's the question I'll put to you. Can a person's mistakes erase the joy they gave millions? Or does the good they leave behind outweigh the bad? Hulk Hogan's death didn't just mark the end of a man's life. It forced the wrestling world to face a bigger question. What do we do with his legacy? On one hand, Hogan was the reason wrestling exploded into mainstream culture. Without him, there's no WrestleMania as we know it, no golden age of WWE, no Hulkamania running wild. He was the first true global wrestling superstar, the one even non-wrestling fans could recognize instantly. Like Michael Jordan in basketball or Muhammad Ali in boxing, Hogan's image transcended the sport itself. But legacies aren't simple, they're complicated. Alongside the glory came the scandals, the friendships he destroyed, the family bonds he couldn't repair, the pain of his daughter, who now has to explain to her children why their grandfather never came to see them. And yet, when his death was announced, millions of fans around the world cried as if they had lost a family member themselves. Tributes filled arenas. On SmackDown, the crowd erupted in chants of "Thank you, Hogan." WWE aired a special video package showing his greatest moments, and legends stood in the ring with tears in their eyes. For a moment, all the controversies faded, and what remained was the undeniable truth. Hulk Hogan changed professional wrestling forever, and maybe that's the ultimate dark truth, that sometimes the greatest icons aren't perfect. That behind the superheroes we idolize are deeply flawed, deeply human individuals who struggle just like anyone else. The larger-than-life Hulk Hogan, who slammed giants and electrified millions, also struggled with pain, regret, and fractured family ties. In the end, Brooke Hogan said she felt grateful that in her final phone call with her father, she got to say "I love you." She carried the weight of knowing she had done everything she could, even if her father couldn't give the same in return. That's not a wrestling storyline, it's real life, raw and unfiltered. The wrestling world will keep debating Hulk Hogan's legacy for years. Was he the ultimate hero who made wrestling global, or the flawed man who let fame consume him? The truth, like most legacies, is somewhere in between. But one thing remains undeniable. Hulk Hogan may be gone, but Hulkamania will never die. So let me leave you with this. When you think about Hogan's story, do you see tragedy or do you see triumph? And can the two ever truly be separated? Thank you for joining me on this emotional journey through Hulk Hogan's life, his death, and the complicated legacy he left behind. If this story moved you, hit that like button, share your thoughts in the comments, because I want to know, what's your memory of Hulk Hogan? And don't forget to subscribe, because in the next story, we'll dive into the shocking return of CM Punk to WWE, a comeback that nobody thought would ever happen.